Ready for the show? I'm ready to start.
10, 9, ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Roger, we got a roll from
Tower cleared.
Roger, roll.
First time on Earth, there is a technological intelligence reaching for the stars.
Ease yourself back into consciousness.
Well, my dear friends from all over the world, this is Martin Horst speaking on Finding Voices Radio with my program ET First Contact Radio with the latest galactic news. I have a very interesting guest today, Emily Elizabeth Windsor Cragg. Emily has been on my show on BBS Radio last Thursday, and today we are going in depth about more information that has everything to do with cognitive dissonance and related subjects like something that was just sent to me by Elizabeth, which is has to do with the Anunnaki and our history 208,000 years back. It has to do with top-down structures, mindsets, and monothesis. I mean. So, dear Emily, welcome to the show again.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to just express the learning and research that I'm able to do because I'm retired now. It's nice being retired.
It gives you the time to study more.
Yes.
And deeper.
I've never worked so hard in my life, and it's better. Money doesn't enter into it. But what I'm finding is the answers to the questions I never had time to look into when I was working.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
I won't ask you.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, well, I won't ask you a specific question first of all, but let's talk about mindset of panthesis versus monothesis.
Oh, okay. You're tripping over the English. It's pantheism versus monotheism. Okay.
Yes. Oh,
and
that's what you mean. Okay. Well, now I understand. Pantheism and monotheism. Yes, I understand.
Yeah. These come to us from the culture of the Anunnaki, who have been reinforcing and socializing civilizations on our planet going back 208,000 years. And what I discovered in studying the underlying ways of thinking of the two theories of operation is that all of our political chaos boils down to these two ideologies. There's only two ways. It's either top-down dictatorship or it's bottom-up consensus. And all of the fights and all of the political processes are over who's the boss. Are the elites the boss, or are the conditions on the ground and the people doing the work the boss? Everything boils down to that. Now, Enki gave us the top-down pantheist point of view. Now, what's pantheist? A pantheist is somebody who says it's all one, it's all good. There are many gods, there are many gurus, there are many teachers, and we get the best we can from each of them and put them, apply them to our life. And we do yoga, and we do practices that clear the mind and enlighten the soul and expand your consciousness and understanding. This is pantheism, and it is taught in a lot of different colors and stripes and factions, mostly in the United States. We know it as Luciferianism, Satanism, and New Age teachings. Okay, basically, they believe that all existence needs to be directed first by thoughts, and that thoughts need to be kept within boundaries, and that people having the wrong thoughts need to be expelled from the governance function, and thoughts are to be kept secret, and that's where the secret societies come from. And the reason that Luciferianism and Satanism are forms of pantheism is that although they exist within the covenants of Judaism and Christianity, where there's the one God that we're all accountable to, in Luciferianism, there's the single human sovereignty to compete against God, which means there's more than one God. And in Satanism, there's the authority of a learned master that competes against God. So it's a form of pantheism as well. Whereas in the bottom-up model that we got from the Hammurabi and from the Bible's Mosaic Law and from the Magna Carta and the 1689 Bill of Rights and the U.S. Constitution, what underlies governance is the reality and the truth about outcomes. Okay, the Mosaic Law, for instance, I made a copy of it myself as the daughter of the king. I was required to. And as an editor, I had fun. I went to a Jewish site and picked up the 613 mitzvot and stuck it in a text file, and I went to work on it to get it organized, So I put everything that was alike together and everything that was different apart, and I organized and prioritized and numbered it, and finally figured out there are only 254 legal principles there. If you do what's good, you get a good outcome. And if you avoid doing what's harmful, you get a good outcome. And that's what common law is about producing good outcomes. That's the whole purpose of common law. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we flip back over to the top-down system, the pantheist system, where the people who are the smartest and the most predatory get to make all the rules top down that subjugate everybody else. You see where this goes? It becomes a rule-bound hierarchy in which there's a lot of confusion because the guy at the top of any hierarchy or monarchy knows everything, but he doesn't tell the people going all the way to the bottom anything except what they need to know to do their jobs. He compartmentalizes everybody. And so the outcome is everybody only knows one thing. Everybody's stupefied. And this is what has been produced deliberately by King George V and Kaiser Wilhelm when they set up the Anunnaki top-down system at Tavistock. Tavistock has redone customer service worldwide in order that anybody in the chain of command of a service industry only knows the piece of paper on their desk, and they only can say what they're told to say, and anything else comes up and they say, I don't know. Okay, Tavistock is the Anunnaki tool to turn every corporation, every institute, every academy, every union, every organization of human beings into a top-down directive dictatorship. This is what Tavistock did. And I don't believe that Tavistock genuinely and legitimately has that authority to stupefy the entire world in order that a few elites might control everything as if they knew how. They don't even know how. So that's where I'm coming from. Am I making any sense so far?
Truly so. Just a little mental separation here from a few things that you said. I do want to take away the confusion that people might have when they heard what you first said, the pantheism, because people that are New Agers, like myself, light workers, doesn't matter how you name it, starseeds, people, like you said, that have ideas about love and light, of course, and I believe that God's strongest force of creation is love. That I think we should not confuse, Emily, people who try to do the best with meditation and yoga with the people in the structure behind the governments, and those are not the same two types of people.
I hope not.
Well, I'm sure they're not, because people are anti-Illuminati, people that are doing meditations for world peace and using Buddhistic elements or Vedic elements, a type of pantheism. Those people want the best for the world, and they are not at all in government. They are just people like you and me, who are praying for world peace and who are doing meditations for world peace. And this group of people, which is growing day by day, is not the same group of people that are in the eye of the pyramid. You understand that, of course.
Precisely so, and the reason is that the broad basis of people who are for peace and for unity and for harmony, okay, they have not bought into the top-down notion that authority comes from elites and from figures who wish to dominate. I don't see, I have friends who are Buddhists and Sikhs and Baha'i, okay?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
It's people who simply work at manifesting what is good around them.
Yeah, well, Emily, I believe I understand what you mean. There is within the New Age community, there are posh people with a lot of money who read glossy magazines and do meditation just to show off or just to look nice. And this is a different group than people that have to work very hard, that have to turn every dime they earn in their job, and that do meditate for peace. There are two distinct groups. There are the real light workers, the people that do real meditation and prayer, and there's the group of rich people who read glossy magazines and do posh and you know what I mean?
Yes, and in the Christian movement and in the Jewish movement, the same polarization exists.
Yeah.
In the Jewish movement, you have the Torah Jews who stick with the laws of Moses and who refuse to accept the Talmud, which was a Babylonian edition. And in the Christian movement, you have the Christians who refuse to bow down to the state and to accept political correctness, and who stick with the principles that are elucidated, yes,
So now we are on the same line. Oh, wonderful.
Yes. Okay, we have these polarizations to add complexity, but I'm just starting at the beginning with the first two positions, that one, there's top down, and two, there's bottom up. And then there's a lot of permutations and consequences that roll out of that, and polarizations everywhere you go, because in the top-down method, thoughts are prosecutable. If you don't have the politically correct thoughts, you get thrown out. You get expelled. Okay.
Truly
In
so.
the bottom-up model, anybody can have any thoughts they want.
Yeah.
You know? It all depends on what's true and what's happening and what the outcome is for people. Okay? So both the pantheist and the one God of people, monotheists, okay, accept that having justice and fairness and mercy and compassion and loyalty and liberty and respect and chastity, these are goals and outcomes that we want to achieve by our own mastery. Okay, that's one polarization of that belief. But on the other side, on the ego side, there are members of all of the philosophies who adopt the position that it's me and me only that matters, and you don't count.
Exactly.
You know, it's us versus them mentality that's driving the greed, and the greed drives the serial wars. And so what I'm going to try to do today is lay out the possible consequences of societies having adopted a certain blindness to certain things going on. Now, you've been wanting to talk to me about disclosure. Well, disclosure is forbidden by rules, by laws, secret societies, legislation, policy, top-down, whatever. So, you know and I know, when I personally refuse to face an issue, what happens? It comes at me again and again and again until it either breaks me in pieces or I get it. Okay? And so the first issue that's going to come back to our socialized governance again and again and again until they get it is disclosure.
Exactly.
And if our governments don't open up and get truthful about disclosure, there's going to be a day of reckoning. Okay? The next thing that this disclosure caused was that the behavior of NASA has been inappropriate.
Very
I
inappropriate.
talked about this Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
NASA's history is very negative.
Mm-hmm.
What they did on Mars, their rovers did a lot of damage. Their rovers ran over people. There was a war because it was on November 11th, 2007, that there was an attack because of the residences that had been crushed under a cliff face by the rover Opportunity, and fighting broke out and prisoners were taken. Okay, so that's on Mars. On Venus, we don't know the outcome of the rovers. We never heard about that. But on the moon, NASA bombed the south pole of the moon with an empty rocket casing at Crater Emmaus, and they knocked a hole in the moon's water reservoir system. On Jupiter, they sent an atomic engine to take pictures, and when it ran out of fuel, they just let it crash on the surface, an atomic engine, which of course causes damage with radioactivity and so forth. And then Project Jupiter was talking about nuking Saturn, okay, or Project Lucifer, excuse me, I had the name wrong. And then we hear the account from Captain K about 17 years on Mars, which was constant fighting and war. Well, that kind of behavior on NASA's part is not what we would call ambassadorial. That's not entertaining the people on other worlds to know that we are civil and we are ready to travel in space. And so what's very likely to happen, and I think that part of the Jade Helm program is actually preparing for the blowback that we are due from the ETs. They're due to come here and kick ass because our space program had absolutely no manners whatsoever. So that's one thing that's due. The other thing that's happening in non-disclosure is that our astronomical situation has changed dramatically in the last 15 years, since about 2003, when the Planet X Taurus showed up in our vicinity and began affecting us, and it's a dark matter torus of particles, more like a cloud as far as we're concerned, because we can't see dark matter. We don't know what it's doing or who's in it, you know. And so our astronomers and NASA have not informed us, the people, about the fact we have a different sun. Our moon is captured in the folds of Nemesis, the brown dwarf star, and the shape of the Earth has compacted vertically. We're no longer as spherical. We're down into the torus shape of like a tire inner tube. The people have not been informed that our planet is on a different heading, no longer orbiting Old Sol. Now we're heading south toward Orion, which is the ultimate origin of the Anunnaki in the first place. We're going to their home in the Orion Nebula, but we haven't been apprised, us the people. And what that tells me, again, here we go again, what we're not recognizing, what we're not responding to, what we're not dealing with openly is going to come at us until leadership gets it, that you got to tell the people the truth. So I believe we're headed for some astronomical trouble, not just ET trouble, but astronomical trouble, because the governance and the elites are not doing the job of informing the people. Third, the problem of governance has been taken out of the people's hands and out of common law, which was written to provide good outcomes and good effects and good lives for the most of the people that it could. Okay. And what we have is a system in which just the lucky people get taken care of and just the rich people get taken care of, and they've decided that they deserve something special. They deserve special treatment. They deserve a special place to be safe when all of their folly and their foolishness and their mischief and their criminal activity brings trouble upon our planet. They haven't realized that the minds that, or the mind for a monotheist, for the monotheist, there is one mind personality with memory and wit and a name who oversees our whole process in this galaxy, and his name is Yahweh. And he was the God of the Anunnaki, the God of the Jews, and the God of Christians, until some of the rebels got a hold of the doctrines and beliefs and began teaching that death is better than life and ascension is better than life. I'm going to have a little something to drink here. I'm getting dry.
Emily, shall I play a little piece of music?
Yes, of course.
Do you want something from the 60s or something electronic or something meditative?
Any is fine.
Let me see then. 80. Let me find something nice for you.
Oh, you're a sweetheart.
Yeah.
You are a sweetheart.
This is French from 1986. Daniel Balavoine, La Ziza.
Petite rue de Casbah, au milieu de Casa. Petite brune enroulée d'un drap court autour de moi. Ses yeux remplis de pourquoi cherche une réponse en moi. Elle veut vraiment que rien ne soit sûr dans tout ce qu'elle croit. Ta couleur et tes mots, tout me va. Que tu vives ici ou là-bas. Danse avec moi. Si tu crois que ta vie est là, ce n'est pas un problème pour moi. Oh, la Ziza, je te veux si tu veux de moi.
Beautiful music from Marc Lavoine, Daniel Balavoine. Je t'aime mon amour. That is a beautiful saying in French that means I love you, my beloved twin soul. So welcome back, Emily, to ET First Contact Radio.
Thank you, Mark. I used to know French. Many years ago.
I still know it because my twin flame is French and we speak French every day. But we speak as we wish because sometimes I will start a sentence starting in Dutch and then using English words and French words. You know, when you are have been around Jewish people in Israel, for example, when you have a conversation with an international group of people in Israel, people start in English, then go into Hebrew, then go into Yiddish, then into French, and back to English and German, and then back to Yiddish.
My adopted family was like that. They were from Russia, and so Grandpa spoke Russian, and they all spoke Yiddish, and they all spoke English. And when they couldn't come up with the word they wanted in English, they'd look over at me, and I'd tell them what the English was because I was like, even as a kid. Yeah.
Well, how about your family story? What is your relationship with the House of Windsor?
Oh, House of Windsor. Okay, I'm just an illegitimate, out of the bloodline issue of King Edward VIII in 1943 when he was married to the Duchess of Windsor. He was fascinated by the stories of Uncle Willie, who was Kaiser Wilhelm, about the saucer craft that were being modeled and back engineered in Germany. And so, Uncle Willie told him about the saucer craft. And so during the war, when he spent his springtime each year in California, and he and the Duchess were staying at the Alawani Hotel in the spring of 1943, and he got an invitation to go down to Fort Huachuca because that was the Area 51 of its day.
Yes,
that's where they were developing the new saucer craft with Project Paperclip. Although Project Paperclip wasn't really officially at work yet, but the work had started at Fort Huachuca, and my mother was an Army nurse there. Fort Huachuca was largely it was a base that was devoted to several functions. They had a lot of black soldiers there, and then they had the development work on the saucer craft. And the Duke was invited to go for Memorial Day weekend and inspect the troops as a celebrity and help morale, because morale wasn't really good that spring. The war had been going on for some time. And so he got there for Memorial Day. He hopped a DC-3 flight down from Yosemite. It was about 600 miles, I guess. He had to take a plane for the weekend. And my mother was an Army nurse there, and she was very pretty. And so they provided her for his entertainment. And so they spent the weekend together. And I came along 10 months later. I was a month late. So that's how I came to be. My mother was kicked out of the Army, and she went on to do a lot of other things. I was placed in a Russian Zionist atheist family. The former General Secretary of the Communist Party USA, Eugene Dennis, was my uncle. And the Hollywood director, Martin Ritt, was my uncle. And let's see, Emil Rabin, who was the business agent for the International Ladies Garment Workers Union, was my uncle. Okay, so I grew up in an atmosphere of discontent and protest. And there I was, an Anglo kid in a very hostile environment because I was the Goy kid. And I started going to church when I was about 5 by myself, and it drove the family nuts. They used to come to me and say, why do you go to church? And I said, because it makes me feel better. And they had no answer for that. And so I was always the odd kid, the slow kid. I think I had a touch of Asperger's because of the condition I was in when I was born. I was a month late. And so always being the odd one out. When you're sidelined, what do? Is you try to make sense of things. And I couldn't make sense of the family who were so committed to peace that they were always screaming at each other about it. That didn't make sense to me, okay? And then I went to church, and they were teaching that this marvelous creator, whose name is Yahweh, is a hulking monster who's going to send you to hell if you do the slightest thing wrong. That didn't make sense to me either. That doesn't make sense at all. And then we had relatives of every stripe. We had Catholics and regular Jews and atheists. I mean, everybody was in that family. They're all dead now. And the cousins have all become very materialistic and very conventional. I don't know if I'm the strangest one, but I have to be one of them. Okay, so that's my family background. I didn't meet my birth mother till I was 28. I found her through some phone contacts. I didn't see her actually personally until I was 38, when she came to help me when my second son was born. And that's when I got the story about the royals. Mm-hmm. And I didn't believe her. I thought she was lying to me. I didn't believe it. And so I didn't do anything with it until about 20 years after that, when I began taking her, what she had told me, and digging around to see what value it had for me. What has it got to do with me, And then I ran across pictures of my father that looked just like pictures of my son. And I began to realize the coincidences that had occurred all the way along that I didn't notice at the time. Mm-hmm. And then the day came when the still small voice in my head, and it wasn't a voice, it was a thought, Edward was your father just as Edward is your son, and they're related. And I was just stunned. I guess I was about almost 60 years old before I realized. And so the immediate thought that came to me was, well, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this? This information is, my kids will think I'm crazy. That was my second thought. My kids will think I'm crazy. And then in researching what had happened to him and how he had been treated, and what about his older brother that I was able to trace and track, and I began to see that what my calling is to go back and revisit history and witness to and testify about how it is that World War I came about and World War II, because we're not getting the correct story. So if I just go that far and testify that World War I and World War II didn't happen the way we have been told, I will satisfy that particular need. But then I look at Britain, and Britain is broken, and Britain is corrupt. And I looked at the Queen's vows, what she vowed to do. She vowed to protect English law, and she vowed to protect the church, and she vowed to protect the culture. And she hasn't done it.
Nope.
And so I said to myself, well, when you're a little kid, you get the book about the little red hen. Mm-hmm. They always do this to us, Mark. It drives me crazy. Remember the little red hen?
Yes.
Who will help me who will help me grow my wheat? Who will help me reap my wheat? Who will help me? And everybody says no. Everybody says no. And finally I said to myself, look, if I'm the only person who can make my cousin Elizabeth II confront the fact that she has never done anything to fulfill her vows of coronation, I will do whatever I have to, including, you want me to claim the throne to be queen? All right, I'll do that too. If you want me to, if that's what it takes to get that woman on a witness chair in a courtroom to admit that she has violated the trust of the British people. She has violated every vow she ever made, and that needs to come out. So that's why I'm doing this.
How can people help you financially to pay the court and to get your ticket to the UK?
Okay, I have a PayPal account, which is the easiest way, and that's Chaya, Chayah. Chaya is Hebrew for living, breathing being.
Yes.
And that's at gmail.com. And that's the simplest way to forward any funding that I can use to get there, find a place to live. Actually, what somebody in Britain could do, I'm not above couch surfing, okay? I'll be happy to be a guest in someone's home if they would be willing to entertain me doing this. I would actually prefer it to being in a hotel. If somebody in the UK would let me stay with them while I do this, that would be much better than a hotel.
Yes.
And then I'm going to have filing fees. I'm going to need another computer because my American computer won't do it. And after that, I can pretty much support myself. You know, this is God and me doing this.
Okay.
God is the one whose kingdom has been trampled by maritime law and by the very cynical form of pantheism that says, well, yes, there's a God, but we're going to do things our way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So those are my plans. I would like to be able to get to Britain this summer.
Emily, can you please repeat slowly your email address for PayPal?
Okay, it's Chai, Chai, which is light in Hebrew, Yah, Y-A-H. So it's 7 letters, CHAIYAH at gmail.com. And
Okay.
I will, if it's a large donation, I'm happy to mail a book, give one of my books. I just did a new revision on Come Let Us Make Man in Our Image, which is the story, the simple story, how simple it all is.
Yes. Emily, people are criticizing money on the chat, but as long disclosure didn't happen yet and we don't have the abundance, we still have to live in this financial system and work with this system. And if you want to go to court to file the Queen, it will help disclosure. So Yvonne and Morrison, I understand that you're angry about money. I'm also angry about money, but I have to say that in this system, until disclosure or the event didn't happen yet, we have to live with this system.
Well, wait a minute, though. I've been promised a ticket because a friend of mine has 500,000 air miles points. Okay, so I'm going to get my ticket that way. And then maybe I can stay with somebody rather than have a hotel. Okay, I'm not wedded to the idea that money is the only way that we can live. I'm all for sharing and barter and trade.
Yes.
And flea markets and secondhand stores and garage sales. All of these self-generated, self-initiated community activities help support, society more than money does. So for the lady who's angry about the fact that money is going to be involved, well, let's figure out a way that we don't have to use money very much. How's that? Does that work?
That sounds wonderful. And I am sure that Morrison and Yvonne will agree with you. And we are all frustrated with money, of course. But I hope you can use these air miles for this ticket to go to get to the UK. And I have several friends living around the UK. For example, Susan Lennon is a friend of mine. She might want to host you.
Well, that would be wonderful. And, I have to get my passport straightened out. I got a brand new passport.
Yeah, listen, Emily, I'm gonna suggest you to be a friend with Susan Lennon.
Susan? Okay.
Yeah, Susan Lennon. Oh, we are not friends yet, but I will send her profile.
Okay.
Susan... It's with a S, I think. Yeah, Susan Lennon in Bournemouth. She lives in Bournemouth.
Okay.
I will send you her Facebook profile in a private message. Emily, here you are. This is Susan Lennon. Tell her you are a friend of mine. You've been on my radio show. She does a radio show in the UK. She's a wonderful lady. She's honest and kind. So, why don't you...
I will give her a call.
Yeah.
And the people I know who really, really care and who are working toward harmony and unity and the rejection of violence, none of those people do it for money. There's no reason to do it for money. We have some expenses to handle in the court. We have to file. I'll be going to the Crown Court because I've made the decision that I'm going to confront the Queen over the maritime law violations in not fulfilling her coronation vows. And I have a cousin who's going to be confronting the Queen about the common law violations of her not fulfilling her vows. And there's another gentleman who's going to be confronting the Queen about her international law and war crimes violations about not fulfilling her vows. So we're going to be confronting her in 3 different courts on 3 different sets of issues so that the nation of Britain realizes that the monarchy today is not serving the people and it has to get fixed. I believe in monarchy because the education system as it is does not teach leadership to enough people. And the people who are learning leadership are business people who are very predatory by their very nature and disposition. They're predatory and they want to be rich, okay? That's not how to teach leadership. Leadership is a set of skills of listening and of being able to feed back objections and to be able to construct someone else's argument in your mind that isn't taught in school now. You were saying something, Martin?
Well, I just had a word from Susan. I will tell her to listen to the show. She's just amazing. She's a good friend. And she lives in the UK in Bournemouth and she can help you.
That's wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
I'm finding that I really do harmonize with people in the UK, particularly, and this is funny because my dad was English, my mother was one of the Scots, but I feel at home in the Scottish culture more than any. I just love the Scottish culture and the bagpipes and all that. So
yeah, I have a friend in Scotland who lives near Lossiemouth Air Force Base. A lot of UFOs have been spotted there. Lossiemouth.
You know there's a base.
Yeah.
There's an ET base.
Yes, I know.
I'm not going to tell you where it is.
I know where it is. Little musical.
Yes,
Great.
let's have music.
Yeah, let's
I
have.
like music.
I love music. You can choose a decade: 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, or 40s.
90s.
90s. All right.
to college. I went to college in my 40s.
Yes, you told me. Yes, I saw that on your Facebook as well.
Well,
You can choose a year between 1990 and 96.
91.
91, okay. Let me see. Various. Okay. You want some action?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
What?
Can I kick it? Yes, you can. 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 Well, I'm gone. Can I kick it? To all the people who can quest like a tribe does. Before this, did you really know what I was? Comprehend to the track force, why? Cause getting mentions on the tip of the vibe buzz. Rock and roll to the beat of the funk fuzz. Wipe your feet really good on the rhythm rug. If you feel the urge to freak, do the jitterbug. Come and spread your arms if you really need a hug. Afrocentric living is a big shrug. A life filled with, that's what I love. A lower plateau is what we're above. If you diss us, we won't even think of. We'll nipper the dog and give a big shove. This rhythm really fits like a snug glove. Like a box of positives, it's a plus love. As the trial flies high like a dove. Kick it? Yes, you can. Can I 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 kick it? Yes, you can. Well, I'm going. Go on, then. Can I kick it? To my tribe that flows in layers. Right now, Fife is a point sayer. At times, I'm a studio conveyor. Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor? You'll be doing us a really big favor. Boy, this track really has a lot of flavor. When it comes to rhythms, Quest is your savior. Follow us for the funky behavior. Make a note on the rhythm we gave you. Feel free, drop your pants, yank your hair. Do you like the garments that we wear? I instruct you to be the obeyer. A rhythm recipe that you'll savor. Doesn't matter if you're minor or major. Yes, the tribe of the game with a player. As you inhale like a breath of fresh air.
That was nice.
You bring up a whole new topic here.
Alright, tell me about it.
Well, I grew up in San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a gay town even then.
Yeah.
And my father was brought up in very, very strict, not Victorian, Edwardian times, his father was overly strict, and when they wanted to embarrass or shame one of their children, particularly the boys, they would dress them up in girls' clothes.
What?
Dress them up in girls' clothes. I have pictures of my father in girls' dresses.
My.
He was a little kid. Okay, so that...
Oi, voy, voy.
Yeah, this is what they did to the boys.
Yeah, you know that expression, oi, voy, voy?
No. I never heard that. But they did the same thing to John, Prince John, who later, quote, died of epilepsy, but I don't believe that story either.
No.
But that's how the royal family humiliated a child who wasn't fitting in well. So that when my dad was out of the army and he had spurned Elizabeth Bowes-Lyons, he couldn't stand her. And she was horrified, and his father was horrified because his dad wanted him to marry Elizabeth Bowes-Lyons. And in the early 20s, from 1921 to about 25, my father went through a period of profound depression because his father had told him that he would either have an arranged marriage or he would not be allowed to marry.
Oh my.
And that is in the 1772 marriage law, that the heir to the throne has to get the permission of the king or queen in order to marry. And that's one of the reasons why I have come to consider the situation my father was in as needing to be told in the broader context, because the abuse that he experienced was extreme.
Yes, and your father was a Windsor?
Well, yes, he was King Edward VIII.
Wow.
Okay, and this was the abuse that he went through as the Prince of Wales. So I have a picture of my father in a cross-dressing about 1921-22, because he was going through a period of humiliation. He put on women's clothes because women had the subordinate role. So when I grew up in San Francisco in the 1950s, I had an uncle who was actually Catholic, but he was a very broad-minded man, and he used to take me down to Finocchio's and down to the gay part of town, and I became familiar with the homosexual mindset as a very young person. It never really affected me first person. I was never abused or anything, but I became aware that androgyny, not fitting into the gender that you happen to be wearing, the body you happen to be wearing, is very difficult. Very, very difficult situation for people. And so now that the church is embracing wholesale people who have all these gender questions, that has thrown me into cognitive dissonance a lot, and I'm just having to deal with it. There's a lot about life I don't understand at all, and that's one of the areas where I'm really, really puzzling, because I'm left brain dominant, and both my daughters are, and two of my sons are right brain dominant, but we're all straight. So, what is gender, and how does it affect right and left brain dominance?
That's a very interesting question.
Well, these are issues that society is not thinking about, and as a result, whenever we have an issue that we're not thinking about, what comes back to us is we get bitten in the butt by the consequences of not really thinking about it. So that's not another one of the social crashes that we're going through, because society can't think intelligently about setting limits and boundaries on helping people to set their own limits and boundaries. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's clear enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
so where are we going next?
Well, why don't we elaborate a little bit on your desire to plea and to file Elizabeth, the Queen.
Okay, all right. Because of my education, and I just took courses in conflict analysis and interactive management and group problem solving and all that. I just took those courses because I was interested in them. In the years I was in college, I had no knowledge of who I was. I didn't have a clue. Okay, but when you sign a contract, when you sign an agreement, generally, if you don't follow through with the behaviors that the contract calls for, there's consequences. Okay. So, the lady, Queen Elizabeth II, up till now, has not had any consequences whatsoever in the fact that she has not performed the tasks that she needed to perform. Now, what are the tasks that she missed? Okay, one of the things I did was I went on the website of Buckingham Palace and I typed out all of the tasks that she actually does do. And I looked at the traditional powers of a monarch, and I have that in a list, and then I have the vows that she made in a list. So she vowed to protect the church, English law, and the culture, and the tools that she had to do that, which have changed since then, by the way, because she signed away all of her sovereignty. Some of her tools are disappearing too. She can fire the government and call a new election and fire the prime minister, and she can elevate or penalize anybody in the country, and she assents to all legislation or can dissent from it. And so she has tools basically to address and confront conflicts of interest. And here, that is the part of her job she was never trained for. You see, her mother was a consort queen whose only job was to entertain and make nice. And her grandmother, Queen Mary, was a consort queen whose only job was to make nice. And her great-grandmother, Queen Alexandra, was a consort queen whose only job was to entertain and be pretty and make nice. You have to go back 4 generations to Victoria to find a British queen who had the grit to be an executive the way Elizabeth I was an executive. And Elizabeth II was never educated or trained to do the executive monarch role. If she were going to lead the church, she should have gone to seminary and actually gone through ordination and actually taken a role in setting the moral tone and tenor of the church instead of allowing Tavistock to eviscerate the ethical principles of everybody knowing and speaking from the truth and substituting the top-down dictatorial model for everybody's knowing the truth and responding to it the way that is articulated both in the covenant of the law and in the covenant of grace, as well as the 1689 Bill of Rights. People are supposed to retain their ability to think and reason and know, and not just stupefy themselves in front of whatever medium. So our whole society has been stupefied because the monarch didn't realize that somebody wanted to stupefy society for their own agenda. She didn't realize the threat that Tavistock constitutes against not only the church, but against British culture in general. She didn't notice that signing the Lisbon Treaties was basically throwing her crown in the garbage can. She didn't see these things. She didn't see that giving the European Union all that authority so that floods of millions of hostile immigrants actually endanger the safety and the serenity and the civil life of Britain. She didn't see that as a problem. She didn't see the conflicts coming. She wasn't educated to see them. So at first I wanted to say, well, she's guilty of treason. But that's not reasonable, because she was never educated to understand how conflicts of interest have to be dealt with. So now I'll back off and say what she's actually technically guilty of is malfeasance. She's not competent to be in the position that she's in from the perspective of maritime law, human resource management, and her, she doesn't have a resume that demonstrates her abilities to confront conflict of interest. Does that make sense to you?
It does completely, yes.
So that's the tack I'm going to take in the Crown Court. Now, I don't know exactly what Anna von Rees is going to do in the Common Law Court or what John's going to do in the International War Crimes Court, but I'm just keeping my tack very narrow so that I don't get too sidetracked, because I'm not an attorney. I'm just a school teacher. Mm-hmm. So, I can't take on the whole law system. That's actually kind of comical. But yes, I'm going to have to confront the Temple Bar at Inns of Court, City of London, and I'm going to ask them what they think they've been doing to the legal system to remove all of the human rights for every human being. Like, what are you doing? That's crazy, don't you think so, Martin?
Mm-hmm. It's completely irresponsible and ridiculous.
Well, that's what needs to happen, because the Crown Court, Temple Bar, Inns of Court, they dominate the bar associations for every nation on the planet. And so their agenda and their renting money, fiat debt banking method have victimized the entire planet. This has got to be stopped. Mm-hmm. So I'll do what I can, okay? Because of who I was born to, because of who my father was, I feel I'm obligated to at least try to do something to bring out this information that it's not just corruption, it's that the legal system itself has been twisted into a monster.
Oh, yes. Well,
that eats people alive, literally.
Yes. Emily, I think that when you file the Queen, it can open Pandora's box, because I think it can help facilitate that with this court ruling you can create disclosure.
The problem is that treaties are treated above laws of the land. They shouldn't be. I don't believe they shouldn't be, just as I don't believe that corporations should have the same rights as human beings, because corporations that are predatory cause so much damage, it's almost irreparable, the damage that corporations can cause. And it's almost irreparable, the damage that treaties can cause. I talked a little bit about the Griata and the Townine and the TPP treaties, which are now before Congress, which essentially create institutionalized slavery and child trafficking and body part trafficking, some of the most egregious human rights crimes of all, are represented in and promoted in the TPP treaties now before Congress. But there's no votes to stop them, and so it's a cosmic problem over our head. I think the astronomical phenomena that we're not wanting to face, and the ET issues that we're not mannerly and decent and sociable and civilized in space, that's going to come back on us.
Mm-hmm.
And the violence of the elites is going to come back on us. So we have a lot of chaos coming at us. It's certain.
Listen, Emily, we have a listener from the city of London at the moment.
Wonderful.
Yes. Okay. I want to help you to catch your breath, because you have been talking a long time.
Okay.
I want to read the Benjamin Fulford May 11th update, and you can comment and step in wherever you want. I'm going to read this. All right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
right.
I've read it already, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for the listeners that they hear it from me, and whenever you think something occurs that's interesting, you can comment. Okay, here we go. Benjamin Fulford update, May 11, 2015. Engineered collapse of Western financial system looms. The world is headed for some turbulence over the coming months as part of the final removal of the Khazarian mafia from control of the Western financial system. Multiple sources, including Japanese government, MI5 and Pentagon officials say. The world missed a recent window of opportunity for a peaceful settlement of a financial war, they said. As a result, several stubborn holdouts of the cabal, like Israel and their Washington D.C. stooges, will have to be removed through war and through the engineered collapse of most of the large cabal financial companies, the sources say. This will result in chaos in Europe and several regional wars, notably in the Korean Peninsula, the Middle East and the US. The situation in Europe might be first to blow up as a result of a financial chain reaction expected to be triggered by an unavoidable Greek default. The sources agreed. German Chancellor Angela Merkel's recent visit to China and Japan were aimed at getting money to prevent the collapse of the German financial system when Greece defaults. She returned mostly empty-handed, Japanese and Chinese government sources say. One indicator of how unusual the situation is was a joint statement published last week by European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras that called for higher pensions and wages for Greeks. In other words, it showed political opposition to bank-opposed austerity. Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis, for his part, proposed creating a new development agency or economic planning agency to start rebuilding the Greek economy. To make this possible, he proposes putting all of Greek bad debts into a bad bank or garbage can bank. This is in effect proposing a default. If the Greeks default on their over, here it comes, $300 billion in debt, this will create a domino effect that will pull the rug out of the over 500 trillion worth derivatives that are creating the appearance of the European banking system is solvent, MI5 and other sources say. A Japanese fixer in charge of high-level financial transactions and MI5 source both said the BIS. Do you know what BIS is, Emily?
The new banking system.
Okay. Of central bank of in Switzerland was broke and jacked up stock prices in Europe, Japan, and the US to try to camouflage this. However, the sources said the Greek might be kicked down the road until September or October. The Greeks have also been working closely with the Russians and Chinese to make sure they get new financing from the East in the event of a default to the IMF and Germans. The Greek situation is likely to put an end to a different scenario being engineered by the UK by newly re-elected Prime Minister David Cameron and his European EU masters in Brussels. The scenario they planned was to use the boogeyman of Scottish independence to force greater UK integration into the EU and put an end to British moves away from the EU. It is clear that Nigel Farage, head of the UK Independence Party, was put under some sort of a threat to force him to pull his punchings during the recent UK election campaign. However, the Greek situation is expected to make this whole plan obsolete because the EU itself will be struggling to survive. The British financial elite have, in any case, already linked their financial system with China and Asia in order to insulate themselves from the upcoming German EU collapse, Japanese, Chinese and British sources agree. The situation in the United States is also headed for more chaos and possibly even civil war. The clearest sign of this has been all the major explosions of oil trains, power plants, factories and other infrastructure across the US. Here, for example, you can see pictures of a nuclear power plant explosion and the train fire that took place last week. There are links, several links. The Pentagon sources say that a civil war is possible between the US military and mercenary armies paid by Khazarian mafia. The recent talk in the Khazarian propaganda press about some operation called Jade Helm is aimed at inciting Americans into believing US armed forces are their enemy. In addition, the Khazarians are now saying ISIS, Israeli Security Intelligence Service, is in the US ready to start trouble. The latest economic indications further show the US economy has fallen off a cliff in April that is even bigger than what was seen after the Lehman shock of 2008. The Khazarian mafia is also issuing veiled threats. It will blow up emerging markets. Timothy Adams, head of the Institute of International Finance, which represents the world's biggest banks, issued this threat in a recent report. However, the US and Asian government sources say most of these big banks would be shut down despite the threats because they represent the Babylonian slept slavery system that is being dismantled in order to free humanity. Bingo. A visible sign of this. Yes?
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
news. Very good news. A visible sign of this dismantling was also seen in Canada last week. There, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation nationally broadcast a detailed program about a victorious but now being appealed to lawsuit to force the Bank of Canada to cut its ties with overseas financial oligarchs to return to its original mandate of providing interest-free money to the government. In other words, the Bank of Canada is likely to once again become a government institution and not a tool of Khazarian mafiosi.
Yep.
Yep, the situation in the Middle East is also going very badly for the Khazarian mafia. The Pentagon is aligning with the Iranians against the Zio-Nazi Khazarian regime there. Japanese intelligence agency and Pentagon sources both say some sort of financial showdown is expected before the situation there finally calms down. The Saudi Arabian government is also now waking up to the new reality and many cut off its secret alliance with Israel in an attempt to keep in power, the sources said. The Israelis and Saudis have already used nuclear weapons against both Syria and Yemen, though, so some sort of payback is inevitable. The turbulence in that region is expected to continue for some time. There's also going to be some trouble in Korean Peninsula because of the most stubborn cabal holdouts in the regime of South Korea, according to a high-level Japanese intelligence agency source. Their refusal to accept peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula means that a war will have to be started between North and South Korea, he said. The scenario worked out between China, Russia and the Pentagon calls for Russian and Chinese threats of all-out war to prevent US forces stationed in South Korea from coming to the South aid during a series of missile attacks on Seoul. After some retaliatory attacks against Pyongyang, a missile is going to hit Japan. This missile will be used as an excuse by the US military to act as a peacemaker and force reunification of the Korean Peninsula, according to this source. At the end of the day, North Korean strongman Kim Jong-un's older brother, Kim Jong-nam, would become the ruler of the unified Korean Peninsula, he said. Korean royal family sources agree the regime in South Korea has gone rogue and is headed for serious trouble. The situation in Japan is too headed for a sea change, multiple sources agree. Prime Minister Abe is only being kept in power because no suitable replacement has been found. However, Abe has been poisoned and can be killed at any moment, so Abe will read whatever script is put in front on him in order to survive, multiple Japanese power brokers say. His recent disgusting performance in Washington, though, has led to a renewed campaign to replace Abe. This can be seen by the fact that nationally broadcast TV shows have come out and said the 3/11 nuclear tsunami disaster was a terrorist attack on Japan. In retaliation, the Zio-Nazi submarine base in New Guinea, where New Guinea, where the 3/11 attack was coordinated from, was hit 4 times last week with major bunker-busting weapons, Pentagon sources say. This has been reported as 4 earthquakes in the propaganda press. Yeah. We know about it. In addition,
Mother Nature is going to take over before the wars do, because the wars do more damage with nuclear stuff.
Indeed.
All of these social, responses in the finance markets, which have their strings on everybody, and then the ambassadorial political connections and networks, are going to subside and get cut to the chase when the astronomical changes hit. We're due for a major object to come into our orbit in the next couple of months, and we're due for ET incursions to actually get very vicious and predatory, because we have sent out NASA people who had no manners. So I expect the whole thing, yes, to come down in a big heap.
Yeah, me too. And I believe ET involvement is very real. And by the way, correction from my friend James from Basel, the Bank of International Settlements, BIS.
Oh, the one in Basel. Okay.
Yeah, Bank of International Settlements. Thank you, James. Okay, so we continue. In addition...
They're the bad guys, if ever.
Yeah, I know. In addition, national newspapers have reported that even Japanese members of parliament are now allowed to read the Trans-Pacific Partnership TPP agreement documents. The fact that this is in all the newspapers and TV shows makes it clear nobody in Japan is going to allow Abe's slave regime to stuff TPP down Japanese throats. The Rockefeller family has already pulled out of Japan, meaning their stooges like Abe no longer have any real backing.
But the United States is swallowing the TPP treaty because that's what they're being ordered to do, and all it is a slave system.
I know. That can be seen by the fact that Citibank's Japanese operations have been sold and Rockefeller oil companies have also left the country. Finally, Russia staged a big parade on May 9th to celebrate its victory in the Great Patriotic War against Nazi Germany. What was interesting about this year's celebration is that soldiers from China, India, Serbia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Mongolia, Armenia, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan and Azerbaijan had also participated in the parade. This is a clear message that any attempt to provoke Russia further in the Ukraine will lead to full world war. The Pentagon is about to take on this coalition to help Ukrainian Zeo-Nazis. Now I believe that the ET involvement is going to increase and somehow they will really force the Khazari mafia to step down and to announce disclosure or whatever. I believe we are in for some really big changes, Emily.
Yes, and I think that Jade Helm is the government's acknowledgement that we're due for some very serious ET incursions and that we're due for some very serious astronomical changes simply because they've been refusing and stonewalling, and this whole disclosure problem and element, we're not involved or being told what our solar cluster situation is. We're not being allowed to know what ETs that we have to deal with. We're not being allowed to know so much that God himself is going to allow us to be educated.
Yeah, that's called the event. And Cobra speaks about this and Alkesh speaks about this. It's called the event. When Prime Creator or God or the force of creation, the creator of all life, all universes of all life, will intervene and make a step and this is going to happen. By the way,
he doesn't do it himself because he is a positive creator. He's a coder. He codes DNA and makes things work. But he allows karma.
Yeah.
He allows what goes around to come back around.
Exactly.
What you sow, you have to reap. And NASA has sown some very bad behavior out into the solar system. Yeah. And we've done some terrible things to this planet, and it's all going to come back on our follies. It's not God's fault that he's going to, get even with us. No, that's not how he operates. He simply allows us to receive back what we've already sent out.
Yeah, but he's going to put out a signal to all of creation that will help the galactics to initiate disclosure. This I believe.
I sure hope so. That sounds very logical and rational to me.
Yeah.
The continuation of the continuity of governance group who is holed up in Colorado and Mount Weather in Virginia. They seem to be lacking in any moral sense of inclusion. And the intel agencies who are creating ISIS, they have an office in McLean, Virginia, right next to the CIA. If you can go to their website, you can go to ISIS website, isishq.com. Okay, they have missions or projects in Saudi Arabia and Iraq, and that's how they describe themselves.
I know, you told us in the broadcast from last Thursday. People can listen to that on BBS Radio Archive, or they can see it on YouTube.
That's important that ISIS is American.
I know.
That's
important. Yeah. Emily, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, on the chat, his chat name is Light With Us.
Okay.
He wants to share a message with us. It's 3 minutes, and it's a beautiful message. Here it comes.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men, with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
The only way to deal with the unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence be the change you wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. Yes, this is where I'm talking about, Elizabeth. Emily.
Yeah.
Beautiful message. That was a speech by Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I
Yeah.
recognized it. And so we have a couple ways we can look at it. We can look at it from the top, from God's perspective. He wants to see his world in harmony. And from the bottom, we want to see that our harmless choices can be the harmony that God sees, you know? Our harmless choices ought to be respected. And today they're not. They're overwritten by the maritime laws that enslave some for the profits of others. And that's just where we're at.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
thank you, Light Witness, for this beautiful sharing into the radio broadcast. I think it was very appropriate to play this. Very
yes, it
appropriate.
is. And it, more than appropriate, I love his passion, which is not allowed in our generation. Passion is a no-no.
I know. You'll be locked up in a psychiatric hospital if you have show passion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And no feelings. You've got to be just polite and even and tactful all the time.
Yeah, politically correct, etc.
Correct. And that in itself is a form of insanity. Speaking of forms of insanity, have you heard that the psychological people or the psychiatric people have written in their therapy book now that an over-concern with diet is now considered insanity?
I know. Being a conspiracy theorist is called a psychiatric disease. By the way, a conspiracy theorist, if you make a red cross through theorist, you can replace it with realist. Conspiracy realist.
Yes, but you know, that boils down to they don't want the truth. They don't want people to be passionate about truth. And that's in itself, that's really unfortunate when being passionate about what's true is considered a disease. I was watching Alex Jones yesterday in a posting that was on Alfred Weber's. Alfred Weber is
he's a good one. Yeah, he's a good one. He's a friend of mine.
He had an Alex Jones posting where Alex is going absolutely ballistic about this Jade Helm thing. And for some reason, it just seemed reasonable that Alex Jones is passionate about being invaded, because he lives in Texas, you know. He lives in Texas where Jade Helm is primarily going to be staged. And so he's arcing and sparking, and I don't think anybody can blame him at this point.
No.
We're headed for a revolution,
Yeah.
I think. I think that's...
Introduced at the request of Richard Daines, the Commissioner of New York State Department of Health, calls for changes to the law in order to make recommended inoculation, because, see, the hoax, it's now been exposed. Why do you want to believe their lies? What is your problem?
Go, Alex! Yeah.
What is your major malfunction?
I love
you
that
ought
guy.
to thank
YouTube,
God
there's
for
a
me up here
taxi
warning
driver.
you that I've still got my head screwed on straight and I'm angry and upset.
And who screws?
Folks, I have got as much instinct as a cow. Humans used to have the best instincts, the smartest, the most cunning, the best sixth sense. You've had it bred out of you, engineered out of you, poisoned out of you. You get a bunch of cows at the slaughterhouse, and that's why they get them in tiny squeeze chutes and then only bring them into the main slaughter area one at a time. In most plants, and they usually got an air gun, fires a bolt into their head, because if you get other cows in there and they see that going on, they'll go nuts. Nuts like you've never seen, breaking their legs, ramming through things, doing things. A cow will fight back. And that's all I'm doing, folks. I'm in the chute, just slobbering and freaking out. And you're sitting there drooling like a bunch of idiots behind me. They got one cow up hanging by its legs in front of you, blood pouring out its neck in huge pools, and you're just snickering, telling me that isn't one of our fellow cows getting their throats slit right in front of us, you idiots!
Bravo to this guy, bravo.
Yeah. Well, Martin, I'm just glad that you're not here in this country, and I'm sure looking for a way out, I'll tell you.
You're welcome to stay in the Netherlands. I will find a way that you can live here.
Oh, that would be marvelous.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would be marvelous.
anyway, my friend Susan Lennon from England, from the UK, I talked to her. Connect with her on Facebook. Let's have a little musical break for both of us and then continue, alright?
It's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
For Alex.
90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 40s?
70s.
70s. Something like disco or something like rock?
Oh, what's the name of that song? The road is long with many a winding curve that leads us to who knows where. He ain't heavy, he's my brother.
Road. I look for road. I see I have it. I have a huge collection of music.
Yeah.
And my friend Light Withers knows that. I have many...
Troubled Waters.
Sorry?
The Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Oh, Troubled Waters, yeah. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That's Beatles, right? No, that's Simon and Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
1971.
Yep, I know.
Can you believe that was 44 years ago?
It's amazing, huh?
It seems like yesterday.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you find it?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Oh, those are the two records from that era that were just wonderful.
Brace for impact.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. And
I want out of here. I want to go to some happy, friendly country where this isn't going on. There's evil going on all around you. They're feeding on your neighbors down the street. But you don't know your neighbors anymore, so you're not aware of what's happening. I get so mad reading this article, I just can't control myself. Oh, Jesus. Assembly Bill 10942 introduced. We're only a few years away from cops coming to your house and SWAT teaming you if you don't shoot your kids up. And I'm just telling the cops right now, you're pushing and pushing. The globalists know people are going to fight back. Then they're going to say, see, there is homegrown terrorism. And then you're going to all get your butts kicked and they're going to bring in foreign troops. You understand? You pushed far enough. You slime ball, think you're tough punks. Assembly Bill 10942, introduced at the request of Richard Daines, the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health, calls for changes to the law in order to make recommended inoculation compulsory in order for children to attend school. The bill would also permit the administration of vaccines for sexually transmitted infections to minors without parental consent. Now that is a huge... They're already taking your kids for abortions without your consent. Your 12 or 13-year-old, in some cases as young as 10... They got to have a letter to go to the zoo with the government training camp. But not to have a baby ripped out of them. But you don't care. It's all part of being scum. You let the scum, filth, degenerate, viperous, murdering, trash, commie government just have its way with your kids while they're trying to tattle on you and everything else. And you've had all your instincts sucked out of you where you think a bunch of vampiric scumbag government leering over your children, the state stating in California's Supreme Court that the state owns your children. Remember that? And that homeschooling's illegal in California. You're out of control. The government's dirtbag.
Yeah. Let's get to a revolution. Let's make a revolution, Alex. And
the bill would also permit the administration of vaccines for sexually transmitted infections to minors without parental consent. Merck, they're not killing you with their Vioxx. They've got their Gardasil, which admittedly has killed a whole bunch of people and causes horrible autoimmune things like Ebola, blood.
Passionate, my friends.
You know, it's not the Anunnaki's fault. They gave us two methods. They gave us the tools of top-down leadership, and they gave us the tools of bottom-up consensus. And honestly, I think we kind of misused them, and so we can't blame them for what has happened to us. We got to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna rise up. We're gonna rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up.
Yes, to principle and not stoop to conquer anymore.
Exactly. Let's take an example on Alex Jones.
Pouring out of every orifice. Go read it.
Yes, go read it. Go inform yourself. Make yourself aware. Yeah. Read and write and post and share and become aware.
No more complacency and no more self-satisfied consumerism. The world can't afford it anymore.
Exactly. We have to be blunt, we have to be honest, we have to stand for the truth, and we have to demand disclosure. And we are going to make disclosure ourselves, my lady.
Well, those people who have the gifts of clairaudience, clairvoyance, and telepathy are speaking up. I meet new people all the time who have those gifts, but they've been too timid.
Yeah.
Too timid to speak.
Much too timid. So, this is where we started the radio show with. Those people that read glossy magazines like Happiness and meditate only to belong to the elite. But this is not the people we speak about. We need people with action. We need people that take action, go to the streets, take the criminals to court. We have to work together as a people. We the people.
Contact me are so timid. They're terrified and they don't know what to do. And so basically I'm having a dialogue with some of them saying, look, you can do some things here. You can take care of yourself. You can. They feel completely disempowered. They feel as if all of their options have disappeared out from under them. And so whereas they have great wisdom and they have great intelligence, they're hopeless like children because they don't know where to put their foot. And that's where you come in, Martin, because you give people like me who are kind of odd, who kind of think about things more than others, you give us the chance to speak up and to talk about these things so other people can think about them and change how they're interacting in the world to be more effective.
Exactly. Well, I love you, Emily. I love you, Emily, for what you do and for what you are, and for all the courage that you have to fight. You're 70 years old. You speak like you're 30 years old. You have the power. You have the ambition. You have the passion, and this is amazing. We need people like you, Emily. We change the world.
My generation who have the wisdom, who are too timid. And to them I say, come on, get up out of your chairs and turn off the television. Whatever you do, turn off the television.
Yes.
Get disconnected from that system because it's a hooked-in system and start thinking for yourself.
It's mind control.
Mind control, yeah. It's terrible. In my generation, oh, they sit in front of the TV. It's so sad.
I want to give people the chance to listen to Heine Wind on Saturday evening on this station on findingvoicesradio.com. It's in Dutch, but maybe he can do the program in English in the future. He has amazing knowledge. He has a program on Saturday 9 p.m. Central European time. He's very knowledgeable, this guy. Heine Wind, Axioma.
I'm going to have to learn Dutch, huh?
Well, I'm gonna actually, my wish with Jeroen Guys is my brother from another mother, but he's amazing, and I want him to make all programs in English on Finding Voices Radio so that we can reach a larger audience. We need to get more people to have this information and to share this information, because we have very knowledgeable people, very knowledgeable journalists and researchers on this radio station, and we want to make it worldwide.
Okay, well, I just volunteer to do whatever needs to be done, and I'm looking to go to Northern Europe, to the UK, because I have some issues there, and there's plenty of work to go around. Nobody needs to feel left out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's plenty of ways to volunteer, volunteer associations and barter systems, and just plain sharing at church or at the bowling league or at the Boy Scout troop. There are plenty of associations we have where we can mentor and be gentle with people and give them a chance to think things through again.
Yes, my dear. And you know what? We are looking for a radio host for Sunday. We need a radio host for Sunday, because Sunday there's no program. So whenever you feel, there's no fee, there's no cost to make radio on this station. It's free service.
A radio host. Let me get with you on the side and ask you some questions about that.
Okay.
I did that on Blog Talk Radio for a while, and it was very difficult because of the technical part of it.
Yeah, this is only through Skype. You can broadcast through Skype with Jeroen or with me, and that's it.
Okay, and we can take a series of issues, and maybe we can have people call in with questions and comments.
All possible.
All possible and all necessary, so that we can wean people more away from their televisions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And keep them away from their video games and their violent movies and their cell phones. Oh, those cell phones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I use my cell phone for one reason only, that's to share radio shows. That's it.
That's it, huh? Okay. Well, I'm game. I'm game. Whatever I can do to help, just, yes, let's talk some more about it.
Okay. Emily, do you have some closing comments for the last 4 minutes where people can contact you, and maybe repeat the email address where can people help you to get the funds to get to the UK?
Okay, I can be reached at Facebook. Of course, I've got 3 signature pages at Facebook, and at LinkedIn, Emily Elizabeth Windsor Cragg. And my own websites are completely hacked, so I'm not going to give you those links at all. I have a YouTube channel, Emily Cragg. So those are the best places to get me. You can look me up on Amazon.com. My books are there. And I like questions about what's in my books. I'm working on more because people need more guidance how to respond to all the dangers coming at you at once. I feel a little bit like a deer caught in the headlights, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with. And so you can reach me at kaya@gmail.com or at hotmail.com. I go there too.
Can you spell out Kai?
C-H-A-I, Chai, yeah, Y-A-H. So it's 7 letters, C-H-A-I-Y-A-H at gmail.com. And at PayPal, yes, at PayPal. But, money's not the issue. It's the ability to confront the court. We have to confront the court.
We do.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you for being here, Emily. I wish you lots of love, success,
Thank you, sweetheart.
and all the best. We will stay in touch, and I wish all the listeners, I bid you a wonderful night if you are in Europe, a beautiful morning if you are in Asia or Australia, a beautiful afternoon if you are in the States, in the Midlands, and a beautiful afternoon if you are on the West Coast. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening from, love and light to all concerned. Stay tuned on ET First Contact Radio. Love and light. All the best, and thank you, Emily.
God bless you, Martin.
God bless all the listeners. Take heart, stay strong, fight for truth, and love.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emily.